everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's good to finally say those words again. It's been a very long time, but what's important is that I'm back and I'm happy to see you guys here again. Where I have been is another story for another day, but today I'm here with another video, and this video today we are going to be talking about Basics 101. So we're going to be going through the terminology of what diabetes is, and we're just going to define it and then take it from there. I wanted to do a diagnosis story, but then I thought about it and I thought maybe let me not do it right now. Maybe let's start by familiarizing ourselves with some few words, a bit of medical jargon, so that we know what I'm talking about when I finally do share my diagnosis story. So yeah, stick around, it's gonna be fun. Okay, maybe not fun, but at least it's gonna be insightful, so stick around for that. I'm happy to be back, by the way. I've missed you guys so much, but thank you for not unsubscribing and sticking around, and believing that I will provide you guys with some good content, because I will. But without further ado, let's go straight into it. So let's define diabetes. So what is diabetes? I'm going to be reading from a few articles here because I don't want to go off from the top of my head. First of all, the first disclaimer I need to make, I am not a healthcare professional. So you can take whatever I say here with a pinch of salt, and I'm going to link down below a few of the articles that I'm reading from. I can only speak from personal experience and things that I read online as a type 1 diabetic myself. So anything I'm going to say here is based off of experience and things that I've read online. But for educational purposes, I'm just going to say, yeah, take what I say with a pinch of salt, and obviously consult with your doctor if you watch this video and then find out that you've had a few or more of these symptoms that we're going to talk about today. So yeah, please do that. Please see your doctor. That's very important. And I'm filming at night, so the lighting's not that great, but because I love you guys, I'm here. So yeah, so let's talk about it. What is diabetes? So diabetes is a common condition where the sugar in the bloodstream, or the glucose rather, that's the proper medical term, the glucose in the bloodstream becomes, it gets too much, it gets too high. So now there can either be two causes of this, for the sugar to be too high in the system, right? It can either be because your pancreas is not functioning properly or at all. Or it can be there's too much insulin in the body, hence your body cannot absorb the insulin. So that's where we get to differentiate between type 1 and type 2. So this is very important. I've always wanted to come on the record and say this, especially to my fellow Black community. We do not graduate from type 1 to type 2. That does not exist. You either have type 1 or type 2, unless in very exceptional special cases where somebody has been misdiagnosed and hence they can move from type 1 to type 2 or to type 1 vice versa. That's what I'm trying to say. So in type 1, that's where you have what you call, so okay, maybe let me start here. In your pancreas, you have what you call beta cells, right? So the beta cells are responsible for, correct me if I'm wrong, all the doctors out there and nurses, they are responsible for the creation of insulin. So the beta cells, one day your body's like, this is not cutting it for us. And then it just your body either attacks the beta cells or the pancreas itself to not produce insulin. So that's what you get. So after that process has happened, that your body has attached to your pancreas or your beta cells, and you're not producing any insulin, then you get what we call type 1 diabetes. So type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. There is no cause for this disease, for this condition. Sometimes it's genetic, so it's hereditary. You can get it from your forefathers, ancestors in the bloodline somewhere, or it can happen due to trauma or stress or I don't know, but basically we don't have a cause as to why this happened, or happens rather. So with type 2, what you get is that due to unhealthy eating habits or lifestyle or whatever it is, your body starts to produce a lot of insulin. So maybe let's say your body needs about 5 teaspoons of insulin per day, right? And because of how you're eating, maybe let's say you're eating a lot of carbs and sugar, enhance your body now, enhance your body is not producing 5 teaspoons of insulin a day. Now it's producing over 20 teaspoons of insulin a day. So now, because the body was designed in a certain way, God, the amazing creator, he designed the body in a certain way that it can only take so much, right? So in that situation, you get someone that's producing a lot of insulin, but the body cannot absorb it anymore because it's just too much. So that's what usually happens. The body stops absorbing the insulin. So you get what we call type 2. Now with type 2, I've heard stories of people going into remission. So if you go into a very healthy lifestyle and diets, you can get to a point where you don't have to take your meds anymore, obviously with the supervision of your doctor and the guidance of your dietitian as well. You can get to that point where your body is able to absorb the insulin again. I'm not sure if that's the case for everybody, so you can correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section, but that is the difference between type 1 and type 2. Now that we've got that out of the way, the difference between type 1 and type 2, let us talk about what happens. And I am led to believe that it affects both type 1s and type 2s, right? So first of all, what we need now that we have diagnosed that you are type 1 or you are type 2, so we need to get you on meds, right? For type 2s, I am aware that some of us take tablets and sometimes insulin or both. With type 1, we are totally insulin dependent. I'm not on any type of tablets. I use insulin. I'll show you my insulin before the video ends, or maybe then in the next video. But yes, I'm totally insulin dependent. I do about 4 to 5 injections a day, sometimes more, it depends if I have to correct. Now this is not a must. Everybody knows how the body works, so I am not saying that you should take 4 to 5. With the help and the guidance of the doctor and the dietitian, they are able to adjust your insulin doses, and once you get a hang of it, you know your body and you know when to correct rather. And once you get a hang of it, you also what do you call this, you have a formula to correct. My doctor recently just showed me that formula, and yeah, I felt so bad because for about 2.5 years I've been winging it. So to know that there's a formula behind these things was totally mind-blowing. Goes to show that we never stop learning with this condition. So yeah, we've spoken about the meds and the treatment, the different types of treatments. So now, while on the treatment, you can experience 2 things, right? The first of all being what we call hypoglycemia. So hyperglycemia is when your sugar levels go low. First of all, maybe let me start here. The normal sugar level range is between 4 and 7, right? So if you go to your doctor, and please also, this is a side note, because I know a lot of doctors don't do this, please insist on having a glucose test, because the reason why I went so long undetected was because none of my doctors thought it to be necessary to take my glucose levels. So please insist, if you go to your doctor, have them take your vitals. And if you are young, it doesn't matter how old you are, just please insist on that glucose level glucose test, because it might save a life, and it may save you from possibly going to the ICU, like how it happened to me. So yeah, yes, so where was I? Oh yes, we are talking about the normal range of glucose levels. So it's between 4 and 7. So if you happen to take a glucose test and your sugar is below 4 or it is above 7, maybe you need to consult with your doctor before you do anything about it. That's what I would do. Tell my doctor that my sugar is above 7 and I'm not sure why. Maybe they will explain to you why you are recording those types of readings on your glucovisa. But just to be safe, just see a healthcare professional. So yeah, so now that we have gotten that out of the way, so what you may experience while taking the meds is something called hypoglycemia. So with a hypoglycemia, what you have is that your sugar levels drop below 4. So when your sugar levels drop below 4, it means there's not enough glucose in the system to keep your body functioning, right? Because what you get after that is that you start feeling anxious, you may get the shakes, you may start sweating, you may get a blurry vision. You may also get this feeling to want to eat something. I hope I'm not forgetting any symptoms of hypoglycemia, but it's the sweats, it's the shakes, it's the anxiety. It feels like your heart's about to pump out of your chest. Like every time people ask me what a hypo feels like, I can't explain it. I always say it feels like death, because you don't know what's going on. You're feeling weak. You can't walk sometimes. You can't think. There's just so much going on. And if you ever feel like that, at some point before my diagnosis, I would feel like I'm dizzy and anxious and all of that. And to a point where I thought it was probably depression or anxiety, and I had no idea that it could have been a hypo, possibly, I don't know. But I went on not knowing what was wrong with me, and I almost went on anxiety meds and depression meds because I had no idea what was wrong with me. So yeah, if you constantly have like unexplainable anxiety, like your heart's about to pump out of your chest, it may be worth checking out. So I'm not saying you're diabetic, but it may be worth checking out. Don't ignore it like I did. So yeah, so those are the symptoms of a hypo. So that's your body telling you that we need sugar and we need it now in order to be able to function again. It could possibly mean that you over injected, there's too much insulin in your body. So that's why it's very important to keep checking those glucose levels. Constantly check those glucose levels if you can, so that you know where your levels are, and so that you don't have a situation where you are unconscious, because one of the most dangerous symptoms of a hypo. No, so one of the symptoms of a hypo, if undetected, is somebody going into a coma. So that is very dangerous, and that could possibly lead to death. So be very vigilant wherever you are. Make sure you have those sugar low treats. I'm gonna do a video on my favorite sugar low treats, so that we at least go through this journey together, and I can share a few tips as well as to how I handle lows. I'm not perfect, but we're getting there. Sometimes I over treat, but that's not what this video is about. But yes, just make sure that you're around people that you trust, and if you don't, get a medical bracelet. I'm still yet to get mine, so that if you do go unconscious, people know what to do. The first thing that they could do is rub some honey on your gums, or try to make you ingest sugar. It can be in a form of, I know black people call it stroop, just few teaspoons of sugar and water. You mix it together and then you make the person drink, so that you can buy them time and while you call the ambulance. And I know that for some of us, we are privileged to have a glucagon. So if you have a glucagon, I'm sure the doctor or the dietitian or your healthcare professionals will be able to help your family to help them administer the glucagon shot. So yeah, very important, just to make sure you don't have problems. Just make sure you are always prepared for a hypo. So now another thing that we have is called hyperglycemia. So with hyperglycemia, that is when the sugar is a lot in the system. There's just too much sugar in the system, right? So that what happens then is that you may still get the same symptoms as a hypo, but they're not as urgent, because it's not a matter of life and death in the moment. But trust me when I say hyperglycemia is just as bad as a hypo. It's just that it takes years to show its ugly face. like years down the line when you start developing complications, right? So here, let's start here. So if your sugar's above 7, up to, I'll go infinity, you're in trouble. You need to make sure, I don't mean that in a bad way, but I'm just saying that you need to adjust your sugar levels. If you check and your sugar is high, it may be time to get up and start walking, do some cardio so that you bring them down to a good level, and drink a lot of water so you don't get those ketones. I'll explain what ketones are in my next video, because they are linked to my diagnosis story. But if you can, just Google what ketones are and you'll see the information. So what we're trying to avoid is we're trying to avoid ketones as much as possible, because ketones leads to what we call DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis, and we don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that. Talking from experience, I've had that happen to me before, and yeah, it's just one of those that you don't want. But yeah, we are trying to avoid ketones, so just make sure you get up, you take a walk, and you keep checking your sugars after 15 minutes, and just keep drinking your fluids and do those corrections like how your doctor advised you to. Yes, so that is hyperglycemia. So we get hyperglycemia if our sugar levels are too high, and the symptoms are almost the same. It can be the shakes, it can be irritation, headaches. So that's how you get, I'm going to say this in Zulu. I'm hoping to get a translation for this. So that's how you get this saying, abantu bethi umuntu onoshukela unenhliziyo encane. Cha, akusiyona inhliziyo encane noma iconsi or what. It's not that. Asokore you have a small heart. It's because your sugars are always high. So fix that. So you don't go around giving people, diabetic people, a bad rep. We don't have a small heart. It's sometimes that your sugars are high. So fix that so you can be a normal person and lead your life normally, so that people don't say, no, just live a normal life. Okay, thank you. So yeah, hyperglycemia. Okay. Another symptom of hyperglycemia is that you can get tingles in your fingers and your feet. So that's an indication that the sugar is high. If you get thirsty, your mouth is dry and your tongue is dry, and it feels like you could drink all the water in the Val Dam, then you need to check those sugar levels. If your eyes are blurry, check those sugar levels. So you can just run away from all the complications that are brought on by this. I almost said something bad, but I won't say it. Yes, so just make sure that you're on top of your levels, and just make sure that you know where you are all the time, right? One of the questions is that I've already answered what causes diabetes. Well, type 1 we don't know. Well, type 2 we have an idea of what causes it. And the last question is that who gets diabetes? It brings me to this, guys. Make sure, to what I said earlier, it brings me to what I said earlier. Make sure you ask your healthcare professionals to check your sugar levels, because diabetes can affect any and everyone of all ages, no matter how old you are. With type 1, it starts as early as 8 months. Sometimes, I don't want to push it and say birth, but very young age. So it's not because another thing I always hear when I tell people that I'm diabetic, they're like, oh, but you're so young. And I'm like, I know, but with type 1, it's actually more prevalent in younger people. With type 1, it usually affects the younger generation. So please check. It can affect any and everybody. So that we make sure that we know, and so that you don't get misdiagnosed. Just also check yourself. The most common symptoms of diabetes are excessive thirst. If you're always thirsty, and I'm not talking about the thirst that's like you drink 2 glasses of water a day and it was like back to back, and you drank them and you were quenched. I'm talking about the type of thirst that can never be quenched. That's the type of thirst I'm talking about. If you're always constantly thirsty, talk to your doctor. if you're frequently urinating, because they go hand in hand, right? So if you are the person that's on the road trip that's just stopping every stop, and every time you're at work you get up every 5 minutes, it may be time to consult your doctor. If you're always hungry but you are losing weight, that's a story for another day. It's coming up on my diagnosis story. I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to break it down for you guys how I found out that I was diabetic. So that's number 3. And number 4, if you are always exhausted, if you are tired and you can't explain why you're tired, you just slept 11 hours but you want to go back to bed again, it may be time to consult with your doctor as well. So, guys, that's it for today. I don't want this video to be too long. I hope it's not gonna be long when I edit it, but I just wanted to do a bit of a basics before we start, before my next video, which is my diagnosis story. So now that we have figured out the terminology, I may drop more words in my next video, but I'll make sure that I put the what do you call this, the definitions in the description box or right here. But thank you for stopping by again, my diabuddies and my buddies and my family and my friends. Good to see you here, and good to see me back again. I promise I won't leave ever again. Yeah, just keep liking, subscribing, commenting, engaging. It's helping me a lot, you guys. I can't believe that we are finally 100 subscribers in just under a month. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys so much. Tune in to more content, because yeah, it's going to be a very exciting is it the 3rd quarter of the year? Yes, 3rd and last quarter of the year. I've got pretty exciting things coming, so keep it locked and tuned to my channel, and I will be back with another video. And yeah, love you.